Gee, you are dense. Talking about me. It's the risk factor. If there is even a minor radiation release from Diablo Canyon, what impact would that have on California wine crops alone? So, the reality is that every nuclear power plant releases radioactivity on an annual basis. It always has, and that's the way that all of the designs that we have in our current fleet, designed in the 60s, built in the 70s. The point is that the release has to be an arbitrarily small amount of the natural radioactivity that's there. The idea with nuclear is that you have a negligible footprint, negligible impact. Unlike if you compare that to other energy forms, you can see they have major impact, huge impact. But the design with nuclear is that it's got a negligible impact, so small that you can just barely measure it. And when it comes to health consequences, it's got to be orders of magnitude, like 3 orders of magnitude below any measurable health consequences. For a general member of the public, specifically a child, to have any measurable hope of getting a cancer increase probability that's measurable from radiation, they've got to get about 10 rem. And the EPA limit for off-site releases is 10 millirem per year. And so it's 3 orders of magnitude below measurable medical effects, and that's where the regulatory limit is. And then the nuclear facilities will keep their numbers way below that because, there are people that are terrified if they hear that you broke a regulation in the nuclear industry, they'll freak out and get very panicked, even though they're still talking about 3 orders of magnitude. That means 1,000 times below a level that would cause any kind of measurable medical effect, where you could actually see an effect if it's there. And so the wine crops in California, they already have radioactivity in them. Potassium is naturally radioactive. It's already there. Now, some people might think, well, if it's been technologically enhanced, then that makes it worse. But radiation is radiation. Dose is dose. So if you get a certain amount of heat from a fire, that's the same amount of heat that you might get from any other source, say from friction or from chemical reaction or from nuclear or whatever. Heat is heat. And dose is just effectively heat per mass, how much energy is deposited per mass. And so in the same way that heat doesn't care about the source, it's still a certain amount of heat. It's the same thing with radiation dose. It doesn't care what the source is once you've normalized it for things like radiation type and tissue sensitivity. And so it's true, if there was a release from Diablo Canyon, there would potentially be people that would panic. But when it comes to what the experts would say, there's no reason to even be concerned unless it starts to become large compared to natural background. Everything's radioactive now, always has been, always will be. And you don't want to concentrate that to values that are substantially large compared to background, just like any other environmental thing, like the amount of trace heavy metals that are in the environment. Every piece of dirt is going to have trace metals, heavy metals, but at trace levels, they're innocuous. It's always been that way, it always will, and it's not something that we have any health concerns over if it remains at those trace levels that you find there in the environment. And radiation dose is the same kind of a thing. As long as it remains comparable to natural background, whether that comes from nuclear medicine or any other thing, most people are not afraid of nuclear medicine, even if the dose is the same. But there is obviously a big benefit from nuclear medicine, but there's also a really big benefit for having electricity. Hopefully we can all appreciate that. Anyway, I hope that answered the question and addressed the concern there. I hope everybody learned something, enjoyed watching the video, and I hope you all have a fantastic day. Thanks for watching. Bye.